going on, everybody? You are watching the Jets Report by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Seatman, and we got a big time show for you guys today as an NFL source gives his thoughts on the New York Jets heading into the NFL trade deadline. I actually really like what he said, and this is it. The NFL source said on the latest Jets trade rumor saying there's an element of trying to figure out who are Glenn's guys and who aren't. Remember when Detroit suddenly traded TJ Hockenson to the Minnesota Vikings, a building block from the last regime? Is not going to be a guaranteed building block in this one. And I think this is a great point because, random players on the Jets right now, especially with them going 0-7, like they're just being tossed out in every single NFL trade rumor. But the question becomes is who truly are Aaron Glenn's guys? Because honestly, we have no idea. Because I remember when the Lions traded TJ Hockenson, there was no reports on that even being a possibility. So the question becomes, well, who are Aaron Glenn's guys? Now, we're going to do the best job on today's show to try to determine that and also determine, like, who are some of the shocking names on this Jets team that could potentially be dealt. But NFL trade deadline just around the corner, November 4th. I mean, I'm assuming we'll at least get one Jets trade, if not multiple. So that's why you guys got to hit that subscribe button today. Help us reach 10.6 thousand subs here on the channel. We are just 60 subscribers away, so I know there's 60 of you guys watching right now that aren't subscribed. So help me out. Hit that subscribe button today. Post daily videos around your favorite football team. All right, let's talk about who are Glenn's guys because, Aaron Glenn is an interesting head coach right now. I still think the Jets will at least give him to the end of next season, especially with how poor the, head coaching candidates are in this cycle. I think it would make most sense to just, let him try to establish his culture, get his own guys in here. And then if it's not going well after the end of year two, okay, then we could have that conversation. But two guys that I think just kind of have to be Glenn's guys are Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson. Now, I for sure think Garrett Wilson is an Aaron Glenn guy, part of this era. He's a hell of a wide receiver. Now, Sauce Gardner, on the other hand, has he been living up to this contract? Absolutely not. Like, this contract's not looking too good, but they just extended both these guys this offseason. So I think they just kind of have to be Aaron Glenn guys. Also, if you look at the way the contracts are set up, I mean, it's damn near impossible to trade them or cut them, which obviously you wouldn't cut them. You try to trade them, but the Jets would be taking on too much dead money for both of these contracts. So I think these two guys 100% have to be like Aaron Glenn guys. So you got your franchise wide receiver. Hopefully Sauce can turn it around and be your franchise corner. And then you should have your franchise edge rusher in Jermaine Johnson. Now, this is already pretty much confirmed. He's a Glenn guy. His name was being tossed around in a lot of NFL trade rumors lately. And he pretty much came out and said, I'm not effing leaving. He dropped that famous Wolf of Wall Street meme. But he also got confirmation from the front office that they're not going to move him. So I think if you had to pick between like Jermaine Johnson, Will McDonald, I think we already have our answer on that. I think Aaron Glenn is going with Jermaine Johnson. Now, the question becomes, is Will McDonald also an Aaron Glenn guy? I'm going to say TBD, and honestly, I'm leaning to him not being an Aaron Glenn guy because, look, Will McDonald pretty much plays half the snaps every single game because you can't put him on the field on early downs. Does that scream like an Aaron Glenn guy to you? Absolutely not. And I think there actually is a solid chance that Will McDonald does get traded before the deadline. I mean, this guy has not been living up to the 15th overall pick in the draft whatsoever. Now, yes, he is a good pass rusher. He can pin his ears back. But if that's your only calling card as an edge rusher, you better be the best in the league at that if you want to get paid big bucks. And plus, he just kind of reminds me of those guys that bounce around the league at the tail half of their careers, like the Jadeveon Clowneys, like the Matthew Judons, just these random guys who are just like, yes, they're fine edge rushers, but you can't consistently pay them. And the fact he spent a first-round pick on that, probably not worth it at the end. So I could see him getting traded maybe for probably not going to get a third for him. I mean, you could probably get an early day 3 pick, a 4th or a 5th for Will McDonald. But again, you're not going to get the same, ROI on a guy like Will McDonald who you took in the first round. So I'll ask you guys this. Be the GM for me. Would you trade Will McDonald? Give me a T for trade. Give me a P for pass. Honestly, I'll be completely open to doing so. I think you're going to have Jermaine Johnson be that one true star edge rusher. Then maybe you go try to get a couple of other guys in the draft who are more Aaron Glenn guys compared to Will McDonald. So if I have to honestly give one hot take for the Jets heading in the trade deadline, I think it's going to be this guy getting traded. But you guys let me know your thoughts. T for trade, P for pass. I'll talk about more Aaron Glenn guys here in a second. But before we do so, got to tell you guys about today's presenting sponsor, and that is Prize Picks. Now, you and I make decisions every single day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. So don't miss any of the excitement this football season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. If you guys download the Prize Picks app today, put in that promo code CLNS. We'll hook you guys up with $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Now, Prize Picks is the only app that offers stacks. I mean, you can pick up to the same player 3 times in the same lineup. If you guys want to take more on Josh Allen's pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns, Now you can't pick all of them in the same lineup only on Prize Picks. So follow the Prize Picks players directly on the app and copy their lineups in one click. Whether it's a friend, celebrity, or just someone whose picks you like, hit that follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new Feed tab on Prize Picks. So give them a shot. Download the Prize Picks app today. Plug in promo code CLNS. We'll hook you guys up with $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. That's promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. A massive shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's show. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. All right, let's talk about some more Aaron Glenn guys here. I already think we got one that is pretty much confirmed an Aaron Glenn guy, and that's the corner you traded for a couple of weeks ago, who has been, honestly, a revelation at the cornerback spot, and that's Jarvis Brownlee Jr. Like, this guy just screams Aaron Glenn, in my opinion. Like, he's great against the run. He's blowing up blockers. He's got a swagger. He's got a confidence about him. So I think he will, no doubt, still a young player, probably be your future at the nickel position, which I totally agree with. So he's an Aaron Glenn guy, so you got your star nickel. You got your corner, you got your edge rusher, you got your wide receiver, but this guy's probably not. Breece Hall will get traded. I think he's going to be a Kansas City Chief when it's all said and done, or maybe another team who's trying to contend. We'll see about the Chargers if how serious that Amarian Hampton injury is, but I think he's for sure going to get traded, and then you just kind of have to lean more into Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis. You can always find running backs in the NFL draft. Like you can find guys in the 5th, 6th, and 7th round. So that's a very replaceable position, but you probably end up getting a 5th round pick for Breece Hall. And if that's a deal, probably take that in a heartbeat. Just get what you can before he would eventually leave in free agency. But another guy that's probably going to get traded, and definitely not an Aaron Glenn guy. I mean, he has made this crystal clear with just snap counts. Like this guy doesn't even play anymore. Again, he would probably go for a 6th, 7th round pick swap, even if that might just be a 7th straight up for him. But I think he will for sure will end up getting traded at the deadline, or honestly, just depends if a team wants him. But if a team does want him, Jets will be willing to move off him now. A guy who I think is an interesting player here, Quincy Williams. Now, Quincy Williams is a solid linebacker. He does feel like an Aaron Glenn guy. But I don't know, and this all comes down to the type of players Glenn wants because, back in Detroit, he had guys like Jack Campbell, more, physical, like run-stopping linebackers. And Quincy can do that, at a solid enough level, but it wasn't to the level of the guys back in Detroit. So I think he's an interesting one. I don't have an exact answer on that just yet, but if there is like a shocking trade, like they're comparing it to TJ Hockenson, I can maybe see Quincy Williams being that. Now, there is one guy that's going to be a huge decision this offseason, and his brother Quinnen. Listen, I would try to keep Quinnen. When you have that all-pro interior defensive lineman, obviously that plays huge value, but Quinnen Williams also 27 years old. Like if you're trying to reset this now, also defensive tackles, their shelf life in the NFL is a lot longer than most people think. So he could still have a solid 5-6 years left in his NFL career. But this will be a decision in the offseason because you still could potentially get a 1st round pick and maybe a 3rd or a 4th for him. And if you really want to reset this roster, maybe you would think about trading Quinnen. But then again, if you trade a guy like Quinnen, you're hoping that draft pick you get from him just turns out to be Quinnen Williams, and that also leave a massive hole at the defensive tackle position. So I would keep Quinnen Williams. I think he would fit in the Glenn guys. So I think the guys you build around, Garrett Wilson, you have to build around Sauce Gardner. So hopefully he turns it around. Jermaine Johnson, Quinnen Williams, Jarvis Brownlee. That's about it. Everybody else is pretty much expendable at this point. And then still guys like Armand Membu, one of those guys on the offensive line. But in terms of other players, those are the guys I would really try to build around. But you guys let me know who would get dealt. Name a player that will get traded. Only kicker here. You can't say Breece Hall. I'm going to go Will McDonald. I think he'll end up being with the San Francisco 49ers. That'll be my best guess there. But you guys let me know your thoughts on a player that will get traded. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button on your way out. We'll get on out of here. Appreciate all of you guys for watching today's show. As always, go Jets.